What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions, despite being on a 6-2 run over the past 8 weeks, are unfortunately coming home after a really hard-fought loss in Carolina as they fell to the Carolina Panthers a week ago, falling back down to a losing record at 7-8. However, with playoff chances and playoff hopes still very much alive in Detroit, the Lions return home to take on the division rival 3-10, 3-12 Chicago Bears. The Detroit Lions are heavy favorites in this game with a chance to get back to 500, back in the playoff race, and keep their playoff chances alive. So in this video, we're going to talk about the matchup. We're going to talk about some of the matchups we can maybe expect to see and who should be the victor in this game. So starting off with, of course, the Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears. This is a divisional matchup, and this is the second time on the season that the Detroit Lions are going to play the Bears in 2022. Now, the Lions earlier in the season traveled to Chicago and ended up defeating the Chicago Bears by a score of 31-30 in Dan Campbell's first ever away victory as the Detroit Lions head coach. Now, the Lions in that game played up and down. They got off to a really poor start, but then had a major comeback, had a pick six, a defensive turnover that turned into a touchdown. They had multiple sacks on Justin Fields and looked pretty darn good. It was the second win of their 3-game winning streak at the time, and really, I think, was the game that catapulted the Lions into being, a 2-6 team to we're on a little bit of a roll. We have a little bit of momentum. Let's see what the Detroit Lions can do over the next couple of games with 6 losses and 3 wins and a relatively easy schedule up and coming. I think the Bears game earlier in the season was a huge turning point for the Detroit Lions this season and is a major reason why the Detroit Lions are still in the playoff race to begin with, as well as being right around that 500 mark. It was kind of a launching point for the season midway through the NFL season. Now, the Detroit Lions, as I mentioned, are playing at home as they played at Chicago many weeks ago, where the Detroit Lions averaged 31.8 points per game at their home stadium, right? The Lions are a top 10 scoring offense in the NFL overall. At the beginning of the season, when they played 3 of their 4 home games to open the first month of the NFL season, they were the highest scoring team in NFL history. And that continues to keep pace throughout the NFL season, even into Week 17, as the Detroit Lions at home average 31.8 points per game, which is a mark and a point total that Chicago has only surpassed once, all the way back in Week 6 as they defeated the New England Patriots on their last win up to this point. The Detroit Lions are one of the hotter teams in football on a 6-2 record over the last 8 weeks, of course improving their 1-6 record to now 7-8 with a chance to sneak into the wild card as the 7th seed, while the Chicago Bears are the exact opposite. They started relatively hot at a 3-4 record, but have since lost 8 straight, now sitting at 3-12 on the season. Their offense is not comparable to the Detroit Lions, especially the Detroit Lions offense at home. The Bears are dealing with some, relatively big injuries on the defensive side of the ball, as well as just being a young team with young coaches and young players. This team doesn't really have a lot to play for. The Chicago Bears are really just playing spoiler, and even if they win, they're really playing spoiler to themselves, with the Chicago Bears currently in possession of the number 2 overall selection in the NFL draft. So, with that being said, the Lions are clear favorites for a reason. The Lions are the better football team. They're the hotter football team. They're more talented. They're better coached. They're at home this week with their own home crowd behind them, with expectations of going to the playoffs. The Lions should win this game, and they should win this game relatively convincingly. I don't think it's going to necessarily be a Jacksonville Jaguars level of convincing, but it should be right around what the Lions did to the New York Giants, what they did, what they've done to the Minnesota Vikings, right? Convincing wins that, you don't put up and say, okay, well, if this play happened, you don't win. It's, 10, 12-point victory over a team you are better than, as the Detroit Lions. Now, with that being said, the Chicago Bears I do not think are pushovers. They have been in quite a few games this season, even if they have not walked away with the victory. And whenever Justin Fields is on the field, the Bears are going to have a chance to win because Justin Fields is that good of a quarterback. Justin Fields is a dynamic and dangerous weapon on the ground and has a great arm to get it done through the air. Now, the receiving core and the offensive line and the rest of the roster around him are not necessarily top tier, but Justin Fields is good enough to pull his team to victory in any week, and especially against a Lions team that last week gave up so many rushing yards on the ground, and even going back to the Chicago game, gave up so many quarterback rushing yards. Justin Fields is going to be the X factor and needs to be contained by the Lions if they want to win this football game. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. That is a brief outlook at the Week 17 matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. The Lions are heavy favorites, and rightfully so, but the Chicago Bears are a tough team with a great quarterback behind them. So with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments what you think the score will be and who you think will walk away as the victors. Will the Lions remain in playoff contention, or will Chicago spoil the season? I'd be very curious what you guys think. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, and as always, go Lions.